The darkness was absolute and hot, and it smelled of gasoline and old rubber. One minute I'd been walking toward the car, adjusting my cufflinks, running through my father of the bride speech in my head. The next I was folded into the trunk of my own sedan, a wool blanket scratching against my cheek. "What the hell are you doing?" I roared, the sound muffled by metal. I kicked against the tail light. Useless. 45 years old, and I was being kidnapped by my own driver. Marcus didn't answer. I heard him get back in the driver's seat. The engine didn't start. We just sat there. The silence was louder than my panic. Then his voice came low and close to the back seat. "Sir, please, hide in there. Don't say a word. You need to see this. Trust me. Trust me." He'd driven my daughter to school for 10 years. He'd taught her to parallel park in this car. I'd given him a bonus every Christmas and a firm handshake. He was furniture, reliable, quiet furniture. And now he just made me an accomplice to something I didn't understand. The anger was hot and immediate. How dare he? How dare he lay hands on me, on my property, on my mourning? In an hour, I was supposed to walk my little girl down a flower-petal-strewn aisle. I should have been sipping coffee, not counting the grooves in the trunk liner with my fingertips. Then I heard footsteps on the gravel, light footsteps. Quick, familiar Maya. She was supposed to be in hair and makeup. She was supposed to be laughing with her cousins. Instead, she was walking toward the far end of the garden, where the old oak tree hung over the fence line. I pressed my eye to the crack where the trunk latch met the frame. The view was slivered, distorted. A postcard of a life I didn't recognize. A man stepped out from behind the oak. Not her fiancé, Derek. A different man, younger, in a worn leather jacket. He looked like he hadn't slept. Maya didn't hesitate. She walked straight into his arms. It wasn't a polite, regretful hug. It was the kind of embrace you give someone you're losing. Her shoulders shook. He held her tight, his face buried in her hair. They spoke, but I couldn't hear the words. I could only see the shape of them, desperate, fragmented, a language of last chances. My body went cold, then hot, then cold again. The leather jacket, the way he touched her face, the way she nodded, wiping her eyes, then shook her head. This wasn't a fling. This was a goodbye. Marcus hadn't moved. He sat in the driver's seat, a statue, his eyes fixed on the rearview mirror, not on me, on them. He was watching what I was watching, but he'd seen it coming. He'd known. For how long? The man kissed her forehead. Maya pulled away, walked 2 steps, then stopped. She turned back. She looked not at him, but directly at the house, at the windows where her mother was probably pinning a boutonniere, at the driveway where my car sat, dark and silent. And on her face, for one unguarded second, I saw it. Not sadness, not guilt, desperation. The look of an animal choosing the only open door, even if it leads into traffic. She was marrying Derek tomorrow because she had to, because this man in the jacket couldn't stay, because of something I didn't know. A debt, a fear. A life she'd hidden so well I'd never thought to look for it. The man slipped back through the fence. Maya composed herself, smoothed her white robe, and walked toward the house, toward her wedding. I stayed in the trunk, not because Marcus had locked it, because my legs wouldn't move. The truth wasn't that she loved someone else. The truth was that she was saying goodbye to her real life so she could live the one we'd built for her. And I had been so busy polishing the silverware for the reception. I'd never noticed she was suffocating. After a long time, Marcus got out. He opened the trunk. The morning light stung my eyes. He didn't offer me a hand. He just stood there, his face tired and old. "You needed to know," he said quietly, "before you gave her away." I climbed out. I didn't straighten my jacket. I didn't fire him. I didn't ask how he knew. I just looked at the house, at the window of her childhood room, where the silhouette of my daughter moved behind the curtain. I had a choice. I could walk in there, find Derek, and stop this farce. I could find Maya and demand the truth. I could tear down the tent and send the guests home. Or I could walk in there, take her hand, and walk her down the aisle to a man she didn't love, because that was the door she'd chosen. And because maybe, just maybe, she'd chosen it to protect me from whatever waited on the other side. Marcus got back in the car. He waited. I straightened my spine. I walked toward the front door. The gravel crunched under my feet, each step a small, private burial. I didn't know what I was going to say to my daughter. But for the first time in her life, I was going to listen. Really listen, not to the words, but to the silence between them. The wedding was still on. But I wasn't the same man who'd been pushed into that trunk. I was the man who had to decide what to do with what he'd seen.